People are lonelier and more disconnected. People are not getting the connection that they're looking for. We are busy a lot, or we're around people at work all day. And so when we come home at night, we don't want to be around people.
They're lonely, like legit, just like the article talks about. All those things, they're disconnected. They don't have that thing. And it's a funny twist. By creating a community, that sometimes is the fuel of connection that they need.
What we're finding today, that people are closest to the people outside of their family members. And so introducing them to other people in, other departments or other areas, and helping them to see like, hey, you don't just work in the accounting department. Okay. Like, we are one whole place.
Welcome to another episode of Team Anywhere, where CEOs, leaders, and experts at building teams,
companies,
organizations,
and amazing cultures share how to lead from anywhere in the world. I'm your co-host on the East Coast, Ginny Bianco Mathis.
And I'm your co-host on the West Coast, Mitch Simon. And we invite you to join us to Team Anywhere. Hello and welcome to another episode of Team Anywhere. I'm your host on the West Coast, where we haven't seen the sun for days, or even this year. But today on the podcast, my name is Mitch Simon. Today on the podcast, we have Jackie and Three Carpenter, the famous Jackie and Three Carpenter, who have helped some of the most historic and respected country clubs become profitable and have enriched the lives of hundreds of coworkers through the process. Jackie and Three are authors of Behind Their Head. If you're watching
People
this,
F1rst.
People F1rst. That's F1rst. Very non-conventional humans. The 5 steps to pure human connection and a thriving organization, which offers a 5-step process for implementing a People First philosophy in your organization, where caring, connected leaders create loyalty, ownership, value, and excellence. Got that right. Hello, Jackie and Three. How are you?
Hi, good.
Mitch, nice to see you. Thank you for doing this.
Oh, yeah. I just made that all up. So, Jackie and Three, just country clubs. How did you get into country clubs? Because those are some people that have some opinions about things, right?
It's a true story. And Jackie and I both were really blessed in how it kind of worked out for me. I grew up really, really close to my little hometown country club. I was about 50 yards away. So I spent all kinds of time as a kid playing golf and swimming and doing things around the club. And then ultimately started working there as a kid in the golf shop. And that really led to my career for Jackie. She was getting her undergrad in hospitality at Iowa State University. And on kind of a whim, tried out the club industry a little bit. And it really blew up for her, and had this unbelievable internship at Courtier and Vail, and then moved to clubs, really extraordinary clubs all around the country. So we were both very fortunate.
Vail, the club. Wow. So the Vail, the club, that's a club. That's a nice club. So did you two meet while you were clubbing? Is that what's going on here?
Clubbing, yes. Now, we do want to clarify, because this is a confusion that happens a lot. So when we say clubs, we don't mean nightclubs. We mean country clubs, golf clubs, city clubs. Yes, like a yacht club, those kinds of things. Okay.
However, the answer is kind of yes. So we met really through the kind of academic side, and then had the opportunity to meet through conferences, and then work together on a couple of different occasions. It really, really found that we had a lot of philosophies that were the same, even though operationally we functioned differently, but kind of on the same principles. So.
And we are married, just to clarify. So, Mitch, sometimes we answer each other's questions, or, finish each other's sentences, things like that. So.
Great. And then I just have to ask, Jackie, so did you date 1, 2, and then you chose 3? So help us understand the name, because it's, it's the first 3 we have on the program.
Yes.
Yes.
That's my favorite part. So I have to tell you honestly, the great gift that I received from my parents was that at the day of my birth, even though I have a legal name that says Fred Carpenter III, my parents called me Three from day one, and it has been a wild differentiator for me.
Defined you. Really.
It really has, and it's been such a fun gift, because much like you just said, Mitch, very few people have met anyone named Three.
Yeah. That's true. That's cool.
And you want to know the history of my name?
I
I'm just kidding.
do. Okay,
I
so
have that.
Jackie Carpenter. Jackie is this is the first Jackie we've had on the program, I think.
Oh, yay, thank you. Ooh, no.
Actually, I am going to be hosting. I'm going to be hosting a keynote for the Rocky Mountain schedulers. It's so the people that schedule all of the oil and gas that goes through the Rocky Mountains, and we're going to play a game. We're going to play a game. This is in 2 weeks, and the game is where does your name come from? So Jackie, where does your name come from?
Oh, fun. Well, my parents actually had a babysitter, it was like a friend of a friend who babysat my sister, who's older than me, and her name was Jacqueline. And they really liked it, but they liked Jackie better. So I'm just Jackie. I'm not Jacqueline, because they didn't want to deal with like all the different spellings of Jacqueline.
True, the Q's
So
and
I'm
the K's
just
and the C's and and the French
Exactly.
things and that. All right, let's get to the matter here. It seems like 100 years ago, but it was only just like a month ago. I contacted you after I saw an article on loneliness, and I read the article, and it's kind of one of the things that's going on, especially in hybrid and virtual, and just in general in the country right now in the world. And I wanted to ask, what are you finding out there in the area of loneliness with the people that you work with? And why is it so important right now for companies to say, hey, this is my issue as a company, not your issue as an employee? So if you can kind of highlight what your thoughts are there.
So in May, Mitch, what sparked this article, kind of a little backstory here. In May, the Surgeon General declared loneliness an epidemic. And that kind of makes you want to laugh at first. And then it's really sad because obviously loneliness is an issue. And we think it really stems from, and they mention this, the Surgeon General mentions this in his article, but that, over, 10 years, whatever, tech has really been pulling people away from each other, right? People would much more rather text than talk, or we'd much more rather send an email or message somebody in our office than get up and walk to their desk and talk to them. It's just become really comfortable. And then we believe too, just like the level of distraction, everybody's always looking at their phones or checking their phones. And it's hard to like have a deep conversation with someone, or really be in that moment, I think more. And then obviously the pandemic exasperated all those issues. Now people are working from home. We were trained for years to stay away from people. We joke like you don't ever have to leave your house if you don't want to, like DoorDash, delivery, all the things.
Amazon should be here at least twice.
Yeah, like Amazon, everything comes to your door. You don't have to leave. And so what's really happened is people are not getting the connection that they're looking for. And it's also something I think too, this happens for us in the hospitality business, is we are busy a lot or we're around people at work all day. And so when we come home at night, we don't want to be around people, which then sort of exasperates it even more, where people are lonelier and more disconnected. So today people are seeking the opportunity to connect people, to build relationships, because those things aren't really happening in our regular lives. Do you want to kind of...
Well, and to jump in, about 2 decades ago, very honestly, we started really working on the principle that not everyone's life necessarily is rosy at home. Mm-hmm. And it was something that we would hear from people. And it's funny because, in our industry, it's a very people touch kind of business, right? It's people taking care of other folks. And it's funny, some of those people that work, in our example, in the private club industry, could be a rock star, right? I mean, it could be this unbelievable
big personality,
and they're just and when our customers see them, they're like, oh my gosh, look, there he is, and they want to talk and they're excited,
like
whatever.
A celebrity there, right?
Right, like almost like celebrity status. Mm-hmm. But then those people may go home and have a completely different life, where maybe they don't matter as much, where maybe they're lonely, like legit, just like the article talks about. All those things, they're disconnected. They don't have that thing. And it's a funny twist, which is the idea that we found, and now, we've really focused on this for a long time, that by creating a community where people are genuinely excited to be there, they're excited to be around one another. They have
feel part of something.
Yeah, they're connected. They have this loyalty to one another. that sometimes is the fuel of connection that they need, that genuinely makes their lives better, which is probably the opposite
Yeah.
of the way people thought of it 20 years ago.
That's exactly, like, I think, business people were trained, like, we don't want to care about you outside of work. We only care about you when you're inside our four walls. And we believed that work was a thing you went and did, and then your real life was outside, or like all the fun happened outside. You just came to work to get a paycheck, right? And that has dramatically shifted over the last several years, for sure. The last few years is it's totally different. What we're finding today, that people are closest to the people outside of their family members. People are closest to the people that they work with. That's really their main source of connection and regular interaction with people.
Well, in our industry, the hours are long.
Yeah.
It's nights, it's weekends, it's that whole thing. And I think there is something to be said for the amount of time people are standing sort of shoulder to shoulder with one another, fighting the battle at work, and what that does to build camaraderie and really deep connection.
You guys are great. I don't think you need me as a host. You guys could just keep on going.
We could talk for a long time on this topic, so we probably better stop for air, no?
Wanted to before I get into solutions. I'd love to understand, like, an example of what you're seeing, and how you went in to help that situation. Before we get into questions, because I've got great questions on, just to dive in, like, is it the responsibility of the employer to take care of this stuff? I'd love for you to just give an example of, Golf Club A or Vail or, I don't know, the state of Wyoming. Just, what did you walk into one time, and then what did you do? And then what was the outcome?
Probably the best example is when I went to Dallas. I was recruited to Dallas, Texas, to a great club there called Dallas Country Club. And, very, very old school. And it was interesting because it was probably it was a huge club, very large membership, right in the center of the city, but also had a huge staff. So we had about 400 people on our staff. So it was a big group. And it was funny because there, the people from a cultural perspective were as broken as I have ever seen. Shortly before I had worked there, one of the assistant chefs had taken a butcher knife, to another guy's throat in the hallway over
the place you want to work,
over
right?
A drug deal. When we started hiring some new people, one of them was Jackie. We had hired 3 younger females that came in management roles right after I had gotten there, and we couldn't let them park out in the employee parking. We had to park them near the offices where we could watch them go to their car, because culturally the staff was kind of in that much of a bad place. And it is interesting because by genuinely showing people that we care and really trying to work with people's personal and professional lives together, and just changing that culture over a very short period of time, I would say in 9 months, we had seen a dramatic difference. And by the 4th of July of that year, which would have been about 11 months, that's when the teams were rallying together. They were working together because they were so starving. And I mean, that's honestly the word. So starving for that connection and that thing where they belong, and that what they do mattered. It wasn't just a paycheck that maybe at the time wasn't even very good. It was more about, I want to belong.
Yeah. And it kind of comes from a couple different things, and maybe these are solutions, Mitch, maybe now.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
It's kind of bringing everybody together. So what we found in this example, and this is pretty consistent in all the organizations that we see, is people become really departmentalized, or really like they have their own little maybe clique in their department, and that's the only people that they know. And so introducing them to other people in, other departments or other areas, and helping them to see, like, hey, you don't just work in the accounting department. Okay. Like, we are one whole place. Like, in our example of our organization, our members don't join the golf course. Okay. They join the club, and everybody has to work together in order to create a positive experience for those members. So it's really bringing people together. I thought you were going to say this. So 3 started a new job in November at a country club here in Minneapolis. And he did a really awesome thing that we always recommend organizations to do. He had the first ever in the history, 100 years of
I was
the
gonna say,
club.
this is our 100th anniversary, so it's the first time ever.
The first time in 100 years, he had an all-staff meeting. So every single person that worked at the club came together for a 2-hour meeting.
In every single department, so they could see each other's face. They could get to know one another.
Right. So like the grounds crew got to meet the kitchen staff, right? And the housekeepers met the service staff, and like everybody was brought together, and everybody got the same message of like, hey, look around, like this is what we get to create, and we're all working together. Like we're all part of a team. And there's something really special about that to help people kind of like see the people they're working with, right? Otherwise it feels like, oh, I just show up and I sit at my desk and I do my thing and go home. But being part of that bigger picture is important.
Wow, this is so funny. And so we'll see you in 100 years for the next all hands
Next
meeting.
one.
That was how we concluded the meeting. No, it was good. No.
That's just so interesting. So great. So yeah, I'm hearing you. You do a lot of stuff to create community. Is that the solution? Is creating a community? And if so, what are the elements of creating a community? Because it is a, it's a fairly new word. It's even harder these days with creating community. When, for instance, we were talking about how hard it is to get 100 people together who live in the same city, obviously, right? And most of the companies out there now are, separated by 2, 3, 4, 12, 13 time zones. How do you create a community in this, in this world where everyone is so far apart?
Well, I think we work on it in a bunch of ways, and there's a lot of foundational pieces to create those things. And some of it does start departmentally, or in your example, by the groups and the areas that they're in, and then trying to do your very best using technology in this example to your advantage, and do things with Zoom and FaceTime and so forth to try and create more interaction where people are really getting to interact, spend time together, and get to know one another. And even if it's a meeting, there ought to be times where you're talking about one another. You're talking about the things that matter to each of those people individually, not just trying to just knock out an agenda of these are the 5 items we've got to achieve.
Yeah, it can't be all business. I mean, that I know you're there for business reasons, right? But people want to have the opportunity to share. So if it is something where you're in a virtual, meeting or whatever it might be, maybe it is people having the opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on with them, or something exciting they did over the summer, or whatever it might be, and kind of creating those things where you're not just Mitch, in accounting, right? Like you're Mitch in accounting, but you live in San Diego and you love to do, you're a surfer, whatever, like all these other areas. So we really get to know you on a deeper level.
Well, and as a foundational,
all accountants here in San Diego surf. Everybody knows that.
Well, obviously. But, I think the other thing is it does start with the leadership, not just the person in charge. But for me, when I start a new job, I work quickly with my main reports to try and create these kind of cultural ideas. And so that idea of leading by example, which we've heard a million times, is a true story, though. When they realize that, in my example, me and everyone that, I work with really, really closely, that we are all now of this sort of same belief that we care about you as an individual, and we appreciate what you're doing to make us better. Mm-hmm. There become some cultural things individually that create community as a group. And I know that sounds counterintuitive, but if you really think about individually spending that time creating that, it starts to bring the group together as its entirety.
Yeah. And, Mitch, I know we want to talk about this maybe on a bigger scale, but it's really today, business leaders have to look at what they do is you're helping your employees at life.
That's right.
It can't just be about work, because you can't compartmentalize yourself. I don't know who came up with this notion back in the day, and that like, if you're an employee, like we only want to care about you as an employee. Like we don't want to know what you do on the weekends. We don't want to know about
your personal life at home.
Leave it at home. You come here and show up and do your, well, who can't? Like if you're going through something outside, something personal, you've lost a member of your family, you've been diagnosed with cancer, whatever, you can't leave that at home. I'm sorry, but that comes with you to work. And people can just be more successful. We can be more supportive. People are more loyal when they know the people around them, understand that, recognize that, they care about them. And it is this sort of relationship, right? Now, we have to be careful about that word, because when we say we want people to have relationships at work, we don't mean necessarily romantic relationships. And we don't mean that everyone has to be best friends. Okay. Like, we're not naive enough to believe that.
But it's kindness, it's respect.
That's exactly. You're not
It's an understanding and appreciation of the others.
Right. It is a respect. It is a kindness. It's a, I'm going to treat you well and you're going to treat me well. And it's not, I think we hear horror stories sometimes about, the jerk down the hall or whatever, and nobody talks to them because can't stand them. Well, we don't tolerate that. Right. And that has to just sort of be maybe a practice or a standard that companies say, like, hey, we treat everybody with respect here. Again, you don't have to be best friends, but we do have to be respectful and kind and considerate. Right.
Hey, we're taking a quick break to remind you to support our podcast by hitting the subscribe button and leaving us a review. Your feedback means the world to us, and it helps us continue to bring you more engaging and thought-provoking content for leadership and remote work.
Yeah. So I want to dig deeper into a couple of these notions. And again, remember, we're starting with loneliness. We're starting with loneliness as kind of the key topic here. So you're helping your employees at life is what you shared, Jackie. And I want to know, really? Is that, wait a minute, I'm running a company, if I am running a company, right? And we're here to make a profit. And I pay my employees very well. And I maybe give them good benefits. And now you're telling me I have to help my employee with this thing called life? I didn't go to life school. I didn't, who are you to say this? And this is maybe confronting to a lot of leaders because, well, one, even if they want to do it, they don't know how to do it or don't have time for it. So help me understand how to wrap my head around this.
You want to start?
Yeah. So, two parts. So on the time thing, because we all deal with that, and there's no question that's an issue. It's about prioritizing this, because if you want to think about early adapters in any industry, and you can name them, right? You think about the Apples of the world, the Amazons of the world, whatever it is. You think about the things they did that were different. What if the company that comes out of COVID, no matter what industry, first starts to say, wait a minute, COVID changed everything. And all of a sudden now the employee thing matters because that employee relationship has changed. And if you're one of those early adapters, I think it makes your company more successful. So I will argue from a priority perspective, that's kind of an easy one. Yeah. Excuse me. The other thing I would say is that when you find a way to help people be successful as people, and yes, they're going to be more successful at work, so that benefits you, that benefits your bottom line, that benefits your customer. But if those people are thriving in their lives, the energy they bring, the happiness they bring, the more they want to be at work, the more things they're going to give.
Creativity, enthusiasm, yeah.
And each one of everybody, think about it, the way you feel. Like when you're thriving, like the energy that comes from that.
Contagious.
Well, it's unbelievable. And so when that happens, like those are the businesses people want to be around. And so there is no question, Mitch, and you're right. This is a foreign concept to the vast majority of leaders in businesses, around our country. I think that the reality is we've got to find some ways to dig in on these very simple. It's stuff
simple too.
That's it.
Simple stuff.
Well, mom and dad told us when we were little kids, it's sort of the golden rule, right? Do unto others as you do it done to you, and treating people well and being kind and all that stuff that we learned as kids. God, what if we just transferred that whole thing into work every day? Yeah. Wouldn't we be off on the right foot?
Yeah. And Mitch, we say we are all about making things simple because we just believe everybody overcomplicates everything. So we're all about making this simple. So is it really an employer or a business leader's goal and mission? No. Should it be? Yeah, because if you have happier employees, they're more connected at work, they're thriving, they're giving more. Guess what? Your organization is going to be better off because of it. And your employees are going to be more loyal. Everybody's starving for employees today. Like everyone's trying to figure out what's the thing to keep our employees, to retain them, to keep them happy. This. no one's going to quit an organization where their friends are, right? Or they feel connected, where they feel happy, where they feel rewarded and valued. They're not going to go quit for $1 more down the street because of that, right? So it really just takes some intention and prioritizing that and recognizing the importance of that, not only for your employees, but also for your business. I mean, we just think it makes good
It has
sense,
some very
right?
good self-serving results.
Right.
It's a byproduct of it when you have that focus.
And so what does that look like, right? You want to get into solutions?
Sure.
Somebody-
Let's bring it on.
Bring it. So what does that really look like, right? Like, Three's the visionary, I'm the checklist. Like, let's get it done,
Okay,
right?
let's get
So
it
what do we
done.
got to
Come on, Jackie.
So-
Three
so
sitting
what does
up.
that really
Go,
look like?
Jackie.
So again, when you bring in new people or helping your employees know one another, right? Introducing people to each other, finding ways to bring departments together or the entire organization together. We already talked about that. Another thing that's really important is creating spaces within your organization that are like around, the water cooler, right? I know nobody has a water cooler anymore, but there was something special about the water cooler moments of people having a place to go and chit chat for a few minutes or catch up or tell a joke or laugh about what's going on, and a lot of places are getting really smart by creating lounges or, ping pong tables or an outdoor patio where people can go and hang, and chit chat, or especially at lunch. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, here's a really easy national example. Everyone will agree, no matter how miserable the airline industry is by its nature sometimes of the experience can be really tough. Southwest Airlines has always kind of owned a fun kind of employee thing. Jackie and I got unbelievable behind the scenes opportunities to be inside Southwest Airlines in Dallas at Love Field. And I got to tell you something. We're walking with kind of their head. They don't call it HR there. It's something real cool.
But cooler name.
But anyway, we're walking with a guy named Dave Ridley, and we're walking down the hallways. And they don't have pictures of airplanes. They don't have pictures of their stock exchange numbers or any of that stuff. They have these wild collages, and they're everywhere. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds, and every one of those collages are pictures of your family. Your class reunion I went to, here's my dog.
Yeah.
And it's everybody. And you're supposed to just keep putting your pictures up. And they've created these spaces and these, again, even the hallways, where they want to be standing there going, hey, did you see my kid here at the baseball diamond, what he did?
It's like a celebration of our employees and who they are, right? And so any way we can kind of bring that together, bring those things in. Another thing companies can do, Mitch, is encourage collaboration. So maybe they partner different people up to work on a project, where maybe it would be a project that you're supposed to, like, normally you'd have 1 or 2 people, or you and your supervisor would figure it out. What if there was opportunities to kind of gain some different perspective and really include other people in that, but create some ways for people to get to know each other and collaborate, right? And that one virtually, I think, can sometimes be kind of attractive. And then, mentoring is huge. And we are big proponents of age does not matter.
Well, in both directions.
Exactly.
Meaning, you might take a brand new employee and somebody who's worked there 40 years and partner them together, and everyone's going to see that as the older person's mentoring the new person. I can argue all day
The other way around.
that it's at least the other way around, if not somewhat equal, where they're learning culture and they're learning things from that particular industry they may not know. But then on the new side, they may be learning all kinds of things this person may not know. And that perspective of those people coming together is really powerful.
And maybe an updated phrase is really partnerships, right? Like not necessarily mentoring, coaching, whatever, but more like creating partners or teams, mentoring partnerships. We just made that up on the fly.
Oh, wow.
Great partnership. So what we started talking about loneliness. It seems like loneliness, they say that that it's almost the canary in the coal mine. So loneliness, a lot of it stems from people not belonging, right? They don't feel that sense of a belonging. So I think what I'm hearing from you is, Jackie, you said it can't be all business. I would almost say that creating a sense of belonging is business. Ending loneliness for your employees is business.
Powerful.
These are life things. You could call them individual life things. The thing is if you're a CEO, if you're a team leader, and you want to, achieve results, which is really what you are here to do, then part of achieving results is helping people belong and community, building community. That's really what's most important if you want to hit your business results. And I do think that for some reason, with the last 100 years, we pulled that connection apart, and now we're basically seeing it come together. And if you're not on that train, you won't have a train. So that's kind of it. And so I'm sure all of this is in your book, People First. Is that correct?
Most, not the loneliness epidemic part, because that was May, but we address all of those topics, in our book.
So tell us about your book, and then let us know where we can find People First.
Absolutely. Well, People First is available anywhere books are sold. So Amazon, Barnes and Noble, audio books are available as well. And we wrote the book, Mitch, because we always believe putting your employees first and kind of seeing them as human beings versus tools to build a profit was a smart business move, right? And a way to do that. We saw the positive rewards. But where once it was kind of the competitive edge, now it is a necessity. It's not necessarily competitive. We believe the only way you're going to have
a foundational approach to get all the other things you care about.
Right. Exactly. And so the book just kind of walks through all the phases of the employee life cycle, which is, retention, hiring, onboarding, recognition, recruiting, all of the things to kind of get people and helping them. It's just really a shift in perspective, right? And helping people see how they can create this kind of culture, but also why it makes great business sense.
It's great. Well, thank you. So, and then how can people get a hold of you, 3 and Jackie?
Google 3. No, I'm just kidding.
Google 3.
Yeah, exactly. So 3andjackie.com is our website. 3 is spelled out because that's his name. So 3andjackie.com. And we're on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook, and Threads. So find us there.
Threads. Wow. Guys are so cool.
Jackie's super trendy.
Super cool. Oh, great. This has been a pleasure. You two are so cute and so knowledgeable. So I'm sure for those of our listeners who are at country clubs all day long, like Vail, you probably have been impacted by Jackie and 3. So thank you so much, Jackie and 3. If you've loved this episode, which I have, please share this episode with your friends, your family, your colleagues, and we'll see you next time on the next episode of Team Anywhere.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content from our podcast. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share the video with your friends so they can join the conversation too.